"How dare you bring him here?" he shouted at Ada. "You have betrayed our faith." Ada, tears in her eyes, looked at Emeka. "I couldn't just watch him die, Emeka. He needed help." In a small village in Nigeria lived the Okafor family, Father Emeka, Mother Ada, and their 2 children, Emeka and Kelechi. Emeka and Ada were devout Jehovah's Witnesses, and their faith governed every aspect of their lives. They were known in the village for their strict adherence to their religious beliefs, which sometimes put them at odds with their neighbors. Every Sunday, the Okafors would gather at the local kingdom hall, where Emeka served as an elder. He was respected but also feared for his unwavering dedication to the faith. Ada, a gentle but firm woman, supported her husband's devotion, teaching Emeka and Kelechi the doctrines and practices of their religion. One hot afternoon, Emeka gathered his family in the small living room of their modest home. "We must remain steadfast in our faith, no matter what," he said, his voice carrying the weight of conviction. "Remember, Jehovah's laws are above all else." Emeka, the older of the 2 children, nodded earnestly. She was 12, a bright girl with a strong will. Kelechi, only 8, looked up at his father with wide eyes, absorbing every word. The family's extreme dedication sometimes caused tension within their small community. One day, Emeka returned from school with a note about an upcoming vaccination drive. The village health workers were visiting schools to ensure all children were vaccinated. "Father, what should I do about this?" Emeka asked, holding up the note. Emeka frowned, reading it carefully. "Vaccinations are against our beliefs," he said. "We put our trust in Jehovah, not in the medical practices of the world." "But what if they force us?" Emeka asked, her voice trembling slightly. "They won't," Emeka assured her. "We will speak to the school and explain our stance. Trust in Jehovah, Emeka. He will protect us." The next day, Emeka and Ada went to the school to discuss their concerns with the head teacher. The head teacher, Mrs. Adeyemi, listened patiently but was firm. "Mr. and Mrs. Okafor, while I respect your beliefs, the vaccination is for the children's safety. It's a requirement by the state health department." Emeka stood his ground. "Our faith prohibits it. We will not allow our children to be vaccinated." Mrs. Adeyemi sighed. "I understand, but please know that the health workers will be visiting soon. You must be prepared." When the health workers arrived, Emeka was ready. He stood outside their home, his arms crossed defiantly. "My children will not receive these vaccinations," he declared. The health workers, familiar with such resistance, respected Emeka's wishes and moved on, but it was clear that the village was growing increasingly concerned about the Okafor family's extreme beliefs. The Okafor's devotion was admirable to some but worrying to others. One evening, during a gathering at the Kingdom Hall, Brother Olumide, another elder, pulled Emeka aside. "Emeka, we all respect your dedication, but sometimes it's important to find a balance." Emeka's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" "Jehovah's teachings are important, but we must also live in the world, not apart from it," Olumide said gently. "Your children need to be safe and healthy." "Our faith is our guide," Emeka replied firmly. "We do not question it." That night, after the children were asleep, Ada voiced her own concerns. "Emeka, perhaps Brother Olumide has a point. Emeka and Kelechi's health is important." Emeka turned to her, his expression stern. "Ada, our path is clear. Jehovah's laws are above all. We must not falter." Ada sighed but nodded. She knew better than to argue with her husband when it came to their faith. As the months passed, the family continued to practice their beliefs strictly. They avoided holidays, refused blood transfusions, and abstained from activities they deemed worldly. Emeka and Kelechi grew up isolated from many of their peers, their lives revolving around their faith. One fateful day, Kelechi fell ill. At first, it seemed like a simple fever, but as days went by, his condition worsened. Ada, worried, suggested they visit the local clinic, but Emeka refused. Jehovah will heal him, he insisted. We must pray and have faith. Ada reluctantly agreed, but Kelechi's condition did not improve. One night, as the boy lay weak and feverish, Emeka approached her father. Father, Kelechi is very sick. We need to do something. Emeka's face softened as he looked at his son. We will pray harder, he said. Jehovah will provide. Kelechi's condition continued to deteriorate. He became pale and weak, unable to eat or drink. Ada's worry turned to desperation. One evening, while Emeka was out attending to Kingdom Hall matters, Ada made a decision. Emeka, help me get your brother ready, she said quietly. Where are we going, mother? Emeka asked, her eyes wide with fear and hope. To the city hospital. We must try everything to save him. They bundled Kelechi into a cloth, and Ada carried him on her back. Emeka followed closely, holding a lantern to light their way. They walked through the dark village, praying that Emeka would not return before they reached the bus stop. At the bus stop, they waited anxiously until a bus arrived. The journey to the city felt endless, with Ada constantly checking on Kelechi, whose condition seemed to worsen with every passing minute. When they finally arrived at the hospital, Ada rushed to the emergency room. Please, help my son, she pleaded. The doctors quickly assessed Kelechi and realized he needed an immediate blood transfusion. Madam, your son is very ill. He needs a blood transfusion right away, the doctor said. Ada froze, knowing the implications. We don't believe in blood transfusions, she whispered. The doctor looked at her sternly. Madam, without it, your son will die. Torn between her faith and her child's life, Ada hesitated. Please, just do what you can without the transfusion. The doctors did their best, but without the transfusion, Kelechi's chances were slim. As the hours passed, Ada's heart broke seeing her son's life slip away. Emeka held her mother's hand, tears streaming down her face. Emeka arrived at the hospital, having been alerted by a neighbor. When he saw his son's condition, he was furious. How dare you bring him here, he shouted at Ada. You have betrayed our faith. Ada, tears in her eyes, looked at Emeka. I couldn't just watch him die, Emeka. He needed help. Emeka's anger was palpable, but he turned his attention to Kelechi, praying fervently for a miracle. Despite the doctor's best efforts, Kelechi's condition worsened. Ada stayed by his side, holding his hand, while Emeka prayed relentlessly. Emeka watched helplessly, torn between her parents' beliefs and her brother's suffering. One night, as Kelechi's breathing became labored, Ada knew they were running out of time. Doctor, please, is there nothing else you can do? She begged. The doctor shook his head. Without a transfusion, we've done all we can. Ada looked at Emeka, who remained resolute in his faith. Emeka, please, he's our son. Emeka's eyes filled with tears, but he shook his head. We must trust in Jehovah's will. Kelechi's breaths grew shallower, and Ada's heart shattered. She held him close, whispering prayers and words of love. As dawn approached, Kelechi took his last breath in his mother's arms. Ada's anguished cry echoed through the hospital, and even Emeka's stern resolve broke as he wept for his son. The village mourned Kelechi's death. Many sympathized with Ada, knowing the difficult choice she had faced. Emeka, however, remained steadfast in his faith, believing that Kelechi's death was part of Jehovah's plan. Ada, racked with grief and guilt, struggled to find solace in her faith. She spent hours praying, searching for understanding, but found none. One evening, Brother Olumide visited the Okafor home. "Emeka, Ada, I am truly sorry for your loss," he said gently. "But perhaps it's time to reconsider some of our beliefs." Emeka bristled. "Our faith is strong, Brother Olumide. We cannot waver." "But at what cost, Emeka?" Olumide pressed. "Sometimes, we must balance faith with wisdom. Jehovah gave us minds to think and hearts to feel." Ada listened, her heart heavy. "I just want to understand why this happened," she said softly. "We may never understand, Ada," Olumide replied. "But we can learn. Perhaps there are times when seeking medical help is not a lack of faith, but an act of wisdom." Emeka stood, his expression conflicted. "I need time to think," he said finally. Months passed, and the Okafors slowly began to heal. Emeka's resolve wavered as he replayed the events leading to Kelechi's death. Ada, still deeply grieving, found solace in the community's support. Kayameka, who had witnessed the entire ordeal, grew more introspective, questioning the rigidity of their beliefs. One Sunday morning, Emeka called a family meeting. "We need to talk," he began, his voice heavy with emotion. "I've been thinking about what happened to Kelechi. Maybe we were too rigid in our beliefs." Ada looked up, her eyes searching Emeka's face. "What are you saying, Emeka?" "I'm saying that perhaps we need to reconsider how we interpret our faith," Emeka replied. "Jehovah gave us the ability to think and make decisions. Maybe we should use that gift more wisely." Kayameka, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "Father, I've been thinking the same. I miss Kelechi every day, and I wonder if things could have been different." Emeka sighed deeply. "I don't know if we'll ever fully understand why this happened, but we need to learn from it. We need to find a balance between our faith and the realities of life." The family decided to consult with Brother Olumide, seeking his guidance on how to navigate their faith moving forward. They visited his home, where he welcomed them warmly. "Brother Olumide," Emeka began, "we need your wisdom. We've realized that perhaps we've been too extreme in our beliefs, and it cost us dearly. How can we find balance?" Olumide smiled kindly. "Emeka, Ada, Kayameka, I'm glad you came. Faith is a powerful guide, but it should not blind us to reason. Jehovah's teachings are important, but he also gave us the gift of knowledge. We must use it." He continued, "Your loss is a heavy burden, but it can also be a lesson. By balancing faith with wisdom, you honor Jehovah's gift. Seek medical help when needed, and continue to pray and trust in Jehovah's plan." The Okafors left Olumide's home feeling a renewed sense of purpose. They decided to approach their faith with a more open mind, seeking a balance that would allow them to live fully in both their spiritual and physical worlds. Months turned into years, and the Okafor family found a new rhythm. They remained devout in their faith but became more open to medical advice and community interactions. Ada started volunteering at the local clinic, helping other families understand the importance of balancing faith and health. Kayameka excelled in school, driven by a desire to make a difference. She often spoke about Kelechi, honoring his memory by educating others about the importance of health and faith working together. One day, while Emeka was visiting a neighboring village for Kingdom Hall duties, he met a man named Mr. Dyke. They struck up a conversation about faith and life's challenges. "Emeka, I've heard about your family's loss," Mr. Dyke said. I'm sorry for your pain. How do you find the strength to continue? Emeka smiled thoughtfully. We've learned that faith and wisdom must coexist. Our loss was a harsh lesson, but it opened our eyes to the need for balance. Jehovah's guidance is paramount, but so is the knowledge he has given us. Mr. Dyke nodded. That's a wise approach. Thank you for sharing your story. It's a reminder to all of us to seek balance in our lives. Back in their village, the Okafors continued to grow and heal. Their story became a source of inspiration, a testament to the strength found in balancing faith with wisdom. They honored Kelechi's memory by living a life that embraced both spiritual devotion and practical understanding. One evening, as the sun set over the village, Emeka, Ada, and Kayamaka sat outside their home, reflecting on their journey. We've come a long way, Ada said softly. I miss Kelechi every day, but I know he's with us in spirit. Kayamaka nodded. He taught us a valuable lesson. We must live our faith, but also use the gifts Jehovah has given us to make wise decisions. Emeka looked at his family, pride and love filling his heart. We are stronger together. Our faith has been tested, but it has also grown. We honor Kelechi by living fully, with both faith and wisdom guiding us. The Okafors continued their journey, their story a beacon of hope and understanding in their village. They showed that faith, when balanced with reason, could lead to a life of harmony and fulfillment, even in the face of the most challenging trials.